special series in focus, I have with me today Air Vice Marshal Kapil Kak. He is a retired officer of the Indian Air Force with over 35 years of service, including active participation in the 1965 and 1971 Indo-Pak Wars. He has also represented India in a number of conferences on international security and strategic issues, and he has also been associated with initiatives on India-Pak peace process and conflict resolution in Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you so much, Air Vice Marshal Kapil Kak, for joining here at Asianet News, and looking forward for your perspective on Pakistan Occupied Kashmir and the issues plaguing the region.
Thank you, Hina, and such a pleasure and a delight to be on Asianet News Services. This is an important issue that you're raised, and I'm sure there will be a lot of interest in what you have to say on an issue which has, for the time being, at least been curtailed. There has been some agreement, but as we will discuss, this is not the end of the story.
I want to take one by one political and the security situation in PoK, which is an inalienable part of India, an integral part of India. So, politically speaking, of course, earlier in the month, we saw protests happening in PoK, but yesterday, what we saw is that PMNL withdrew the support from the ruling so-called puppet government in Pakistan Occupied Kashmir, which is being run by Islamabad. Now, talk to me a little bit about your assessment of governance situation in PoK, because in 2022, there was a change after Imran Khan was ousted, but since 2022, we have not seen much happening in the political discourse, though there have been protests happening. But what do you see is the future of the governance from Pakistan's side in the PoK, which is an integral part of India?
A couple of things are important. First and foremost, the protests that we talk about, I link it with the question that you have raised, why there is not much political activity. And actually, this may be a mask for a deeper discontent within the people of Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. Economic deprivation, the denial of certain rights, problems of education, healthcare, power, not meeting basic needs of the people, of course, raises. It's not happening in the rest of Pakistan. Obviously, there is much more discontent in PoK than there is in the rest of Pakistan, or maybe the ruling dispensation in Islamabad, and also the main actor behind the government, which is not behind the government but ahead of the government, is that in Rawalpindi, the Pakistan Army. The situation in PoK, it's let me sort of contextualize it for you. First and foremost, there is a disjunction. The disjunction is PoK is supposed to be. It's called Azad Kashmir. It's supposed to be Azad. It has a president. No other territorial unit of Pakistan has a president. It has a prime minister. It has a legislative assembly. But actual day-to-day control of Pakistan Occupied Kashmir is in the hands of the Pakistani government in Islamabad, and also to a large extent with the Pakistan Army GHQ in Rawalpindi. So this disjunction has caused and continues to cause a lot of discontent and distrust. Much more is the distrust. Because we must not forget the protests were against Pakistan Army. They were against Pakistani government. Not so much against the local government, because the PoK people, Vice people, they also know the local government has very limited powers. It doesn't have the economic muscle. It doesn't have the financial resources. So it can only do what's given to them by Pakistan main state. And that delivery of health services or education or power. I mean, very simple example. Now that you raised the issue, Mirpur generates the Mangla Dam generates 1400 megawatts of power. 85% of that power goes to Punjab and Sindh. It doesn't go to Mirpur. So what are you expecting the Mirpuris to do? There's an international dimension because Mirpuri have a very strong presence in London, which gives them in UK and particularly in London. It gives them a say in what is happening to their parent home in Murpur. And they've all migrated 40, 50 years ago, some even before independence, some after the Second World War, which had a lot of Mirpuris as Jawans in the then Indian Army, but who were fighting on behalf of UK. So there is this political. The other is, you see, the demand that I think is also not quite realistic. I mean, the demand of abolition of the political privileges by the government and the elite, the so-called ruling elite. This requires to be heightened because the leadership which has actually initiated this, it started incidentally for your viewers. This is not the first time we have a unrest in PoK. It started in May 2023. And in fact, it was in August 23 that the Joint Awami Action Committee was formed. And the purpose was to agitate for their economic, social, and political rights. And when you talk about 2024, which is last year, once again, there was a massive unrest. But it was contained again through the usual communication blackout, through internet was off, communications were off, and virtually curfew-like conditions prevailed, and so they could not agitate, they could not come out in the open, and that was curtailed. But in all fairness, 2024, the promises made were partly fulfilled. These related to certain educational and power, not so much education as power. I mean, that power charges will reduce, and the price of wheat in the market, that will be brought down. And that happened. But apparently the discontent is so much that it keeps sprouting like beans that sprout. So I don't see this as the end of the day. We are not conscious of what is happening in Gilgit, Baltistan. There also there is a lot of discontent. But somehow, because Gilgit-Baltistan is a smaller population, the Pakistani government is able to control it better.
Yeah.
The other factor which we do not sort of keep in mind is that much of this discontent is also because people in this 24/7 communication age, every second you can press a button and you're talking to somebody across.
Blackouts
so they look at India, it's our own J&K, and see that there's not a single airport functioning in AJK or PoK as we call it. Not a single airport. There was an airport in Muzaffarabad not functioning for the last 2 years. On the contrary, there's an international airport in Srinagar, which as crow flies is not even 200 kilometers. Likewise, the airport in Leh, airport in Jammu. Then they see the developmental prospects on our side of J&K. So that comparison then drives them to frustration that we are the same J&K state, princely state of J&K, where Pakistan invaded in 47 and is in occupation of a part of the state, not part actually, major geographical part of J&K is with Pakistan.
Right.
Our J&K is much smaller if we leave out Ladakh.
So you just mentioned Gilgit-Baltistan. This is one region where China is expanding its China-Pakistan economic corridor. And not only Gilgit-Baltistan, I must also mention the roads that China is building in Sakshgam Valley. Now, these are contentious regions. These are an integral part of India. Do you think, in your perspective, that we can only resolve the Pakistan Occupied Kashmir issue if we resolve these issues with China first?
You must not forget, Hina, that the reason why Pakistan gave the Shaksgam Valley approximately 5,000 odd square kilometers to China. Why that gift? Some say it was because of rare earths and water, because that area has a lot of glaciers and therefore a lot of water. But strategically and in terms of security, it was to give Pakistan a leeway into the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan had this leeway in the state of Jammu and Kashmir in Aksaitche, which is in Ladakh, which is far away, and which doesn't directly, involve Kashmir Valley or the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So it was an intention that you need to give the big brother some entry. This may seem very prim and proper from the Pakistani security perspective, but we know what is happening to the Chinese who have come into Pakistan to build the road rail link from Gilgit, Baltistan, right up to Gwadar in the Arabian Sea. And you have yourself, I'm sure, as a very thoughtful, analytical journalist, you have seen how many of the Chinese have been killed through direct actions and targeting by Balochistan insurgents. And what is the Baloch problem? Baloch problem is that it is resource rich, it is sparsely populated, very large area of Pakistan, and Pakistani government over the decades that have passed exploits the resources of this. So why is there so much unrest in Balochistan? And this raises a bigger question that Pakistan can do so little for Pakistan occupied Kashmir. It is facing a problem on the eastern borders with India, on the line of control. It has a huge problem with the Taliban, its own creation in Afghanistan. And you know what has happened. Pakistanis have been doing airstrikes in that region. And we had their foreign minister Mutaki come here. And we have now decided to have not a full-fledged ambassador, but upgrade the technical mission to an embassy with the Sharjah affairs. So you see the problems Pakistan. It's cornered into I would say a security and strategic quagmire. Afghanistan on the one side, India on the other side, economy is in doldrums, Balochistan is unmanageable, PoK is up in arms, Balbaristan National Front in Gilgit, Baltistan has also got huge grievances. We don't know when that bomb will explode. We are not sure. It is the people themselves who will do what they want to do. So I'm afraid the situation for Pakistan is grim, and one will have to watch. The current government has, of course, taken a step after, not just after Baisaran and Pahalgam, but even before that, many years before that, from 2019, after Pakistan wound down its High Commission, left only the skeleton staff here in New Delhi, and that has not changed. That situation hasn't changed for 6 years. So India-Pakistan bilateral is grim. There is targeting. There is no understanding. And I think the day must not be far when you can sort of get some modicum of normalcy. I'm not saying peaceful relation, but at least normalcy in the diplomatic relation.
A lot of PoK activists, you also mentioned some people living in London who have ties with the region, left the region 40, 50 years ago. These people, they urge to set up some sort of government in exile, which consists of refugees from the region, to pressurize Pakistan to hand over this region to India. We also need to have some sort of, active diplomacy going on. Do you think that this is one way forward and how effective it can be?
No, I think it would be, our government would be hesitant to openly espouse the cause of Mirpuris. So the larger question that PoK is a part of India and therefore Pakistan must vacate that area. We can look at peace moving forward. there are many creative and imaginative solutions to our crisis. We also have a crisis because we have Pakistan and China, two countries which are our neighbors who are in cahoots with each other. I don't have to tell your viewers that the Indian Air Force in Operation Sindoor was fighting one front with two countries.
True.
You see, question of after all, we have 65% of our armed forces, equipment, weapons, aircraft, ships, whatever, uh, army equipment, all from Russia. But Russia is not helping us fight wars. It's only given us. But in the case of China, Pakistan, China is not only given them equipment, but also help them in Op Sindhu to target our assets, our airborne assets, which were flying not in Pakistan but within territory of India. So it's a very serious security situation. It demands a great deal of diplomacy, creativity, military modernization, how you move on the international stage to expose the nexus as it exists. So this is a Pakistan-China nexus in strategic and security terms for India in the decades ahead is a very serious issue. So much will depend on our skill, our diplomacy, our military capability, improved military capability as a deterrent against any misadventure like Baisaran or its upgrades or its follow-up in the years to come. Those must not be ruled out. So preparedness levels must be the highest that are possible in the given scenario.
So the security situation, if we talk about of Pakistan occupied Kashmir, sleeper cells inside of PoK, Pakistan is supporting, harboring training camps to train terrorists over there and then carry out cross-border terrorism. What is it that we can do?
There are multiple ways by which Pakistan can be dissuaded. First and foremost is its internal security dimension. If Chinese are hesitant to move forward on the CPEC, incidentally, the CPEC has not moved much, even though it's about 12 years old now, primarily because the Chinese engineers, personnel are being targeted constantly, even though there is one full division. Nearly 10,000 Pakistani troops are involved in providing security to the Chinese plans and activities and personnel right along from Aksai Chin up to Gwadar. So that is one aspect which will be a natural buffer against any damage because Pakistan's own people are not in support of it. Very rightly so, because the benefits of the Gwadar port and whatever else happens do not come to Pakistanis, and that's what the Baluch are crying hoarse about for the last 10 years. They're not coming to the Baluch, where it is. This is Baluchistan. But they are going to other elements of territories and elements of Pakistan, which is to their great shock and anger. From our side, I think we have already done a move forward with the Chinese. It hasn't been sudden, but it was certainly triggered by President Trump's tariff threats and the possibility and prospect that we saw before us of making it clear not only to President Trump and the United States that we have other options, but actually exercise that option through a more positive forward movement on the India-China track. And we have seen the results of that in the recent past. The relations are improving. That will also serve as a counter to the Pakistani. And as it is, the Chinese are most unhappy with the way Pakistanis are approaching the Americans. Whether it's the crypto deal, whether it's the linkage with the family of President Trump, as has been reported by media people like yourself, what have been the factors? Because Chinese had taken Pakistan as a friend, to use their language and grammar, higher than the Himalayas and deeper than the mountains, that kind of a relationship. But that relationship seems to be coming under pressure because of Pakistan now moving more and more towards the Americans. And so in the global power configuration, we had no choice but to start to do some degree of improvement of relations with China. That would be the second factor. The third factor is what is happening very naturally. India being a huge market, India's economic clout as one of the largest growing economies in the world at roughly 6.5 to 7% every year for the last 20 years and more. And that is a substantial capability enhancement which serves as a kind of a power of induction, of inducement, of attraction to markets and businesses in the Western world, especially, to invest in India. So it's a circular issue that you appeal to them not because of any, like Pakistan going down on its knees, but by showing the power of India. Therefore, the benefit is not only mutual, but also benefits the investor. So if that happens, then if we are able to enhance our growth rate and per capita, which is much more important, because we are still at the lower income country of 1,170 US dollars per capita to about 4,492 per capita. We are in that range. We will get trapped there. We have to get out of that range. And once you have comprehensive national power, which includes economic power, knowledge power, technology power, and of course, most of all, military power. If you have that package well done, the concerns you raised and the points you made about how we can neutralize the efforts by China and Pakistan together through CPEC, and then Pakistan using that route to target India through cross-border terrorism. That cross-border terrorism threshold has now certainly changed. We may not call it new normal, but certainly deterrence levels have been made obvious by Operation Sindoor.
There is this consensus across political parties in India that Kashmir is an integral part of India, and there are no second thoughts about it. And India also has a stand that this is a bilateral issue and it is not to be internationalized. But my question to you is, when we look up for the map of India, there is so much of distortion, and not only in media outlets, but also at government level of certain countries, at military level of certain countries. Do you think that India needs to start this sort of a campaign for countries to understand that this is an integral part of India? Maharaja Hari Singh handed over Kashmir and acceded it to the dominion of India. So do you think that we need to have some sort of diplomacy going on in that sector also, for countries to understand and recognize PoK as an integral part of India?
No, there is no doubt that, the whole world knows that Pakistan invaded initially through raiders and directly through forces, J&K, which had acceded to India. But we need to also flag 4 or 5 points here. Number one, Jammu and Kashmir acceded to India subject to Article 370. Now, integration is emotional. Integration is not a policy measure. The people of Jammu and Kashmir must feel that they are a part of India, and they must feel that in their hearts and minds. Unfortunately, this may be a perspective different from many people in India. Unfortunately, the decision to unilaterally remove Article 370 against the wishes of the people of India. You're talking about Kashmir being an integral part of India. The Kashmiris say we are an integral part of India. Kashmir's constitution, Article 1 of J&K's constitution, which has been now abolished on 5th of August 2019, says Jammu and Kashmir is a state of the Indian Union. This is the people of India, J&K, who are saying it. But unfortunately, whatever was promised to the J&K people, especially the Kashmiris, there were attempts, it's not just current dispensation from 2014, but even earlier, through what I would call a quad. You puppetize the regime in J&K. How did you do that? Through massive rigging of elections. After the arrest of Sheikh Abdullah in 1953, 9th of August, all elections were rigged until 1997, when Farooq Abdullah came back to power after that horrible insurgency which took so many lives, 50,000 lives, whether of terrorists, whether of civilians, whether of our security forces. What was that? I mean, we can't brush away what we went through from 1990, the tragedy of the Kashmiri Pandits. I'm a Kashmiri Pandit. 3 lakh people are refugees in their own country. Why? And what have we done about them? This is a 35-year-old story. So it's a very complex issue. The third is that, fine, now you were moving forward. The separatism had gone out. People began to see the power of the Indian rupee, the size of the Indian market, of which they were a part. I mean, not that Kashmiris never felt themselves as part. But then targeting of Kashmiri students in colleges and universities everywhere in India as a result of Article 370 abrogation, thereafter denial of statehood. There is no, I mean, I can understand, okay, it is an ideological position of the ruling party, it has the majority, takes a view and says, okay, we will abolish Article 70. You may have a ruling party 4 years of now or 5 years from now, which may say, sorry, we will revert to 370 being an article of the Constitution. That can also happen. We are a democracy. But what is permanent is democracy, federalism, not doing anything to a people of 14 million people are residents of state of J&K. They must be consulted before you take a radical step like that. And that is what Pakistan has exploited. That is why the international understanding of Jammu and Kashmir, your words and your question, that is why that has happened. There is less understanding because the whole world has seen that this was not something India should have done. Consultation process. But they're not saying it openly. That's another point because that's diplomacy. But if you see the press, you see the international press, the situation on Kashmir, what I have told you, has been addressed in that. Third point, I was talking about those 2 issues. One was puppetization of regimes. Second was denial of democracy. Because if you rig elections, where is democracy? Third is insurgency resulting out of this as also a stealthy constitutionalism. Because all that had been promised under Article 370 to the people of J&K was gradually clawed out from its moorings. Articles which were not to apply to J&K of the Indian Constitution actually applied to J&K. That created this whole impulse of what could be termed, for want of a better word, separatism. But that separatism is also gone. After all, don't forget, we've just had elections in 2024 and you have a ruling party, the National Conference, come in with nearly 41 out of 90 seats, whereas the ruling dispensation at the center, that has only 28 seats in that state. And rightfully, the National Conference formed the government. But what is the point of that government, which is supposedly meeting the aspirations of people of J&K who have voted them, being unable to do anything for them because this dual structure of a union territory with law and order and major things lying with the lieutenant governor, as conveyed by the ruling dispensation at the center, it's creating new resentment. And I'm not hesitating to say it in front of you, Hina, or your viewers. There is new resentment in J&K, particularly among the youth. They feel humiliated. They feel they've been denied their freedoms and rights to democracy, rights to protest. The media is not free. So it will take us a while. So what is it? I'm not I'm not ending on a grim note. I want to convey through you, yourself, to your viewer, that the government of India needs to be more proactive, more creative, more imaginative, and more democratic, not just in terms of what the center does in the rest of India, but also what the center's policy are in Jammu and Kashmir. Restoration of the statehood of J&K should be the highest priority, because there has been no major setback to security situation in J&K as a result of coming in of a democratic party duly elected by people being in power. So I have tried my best to explain to you how the J&K issue is an extremely complex issue. It will need support of the people of J&K. It will need an imaginative policy by the center and the rest of Indian people, for whom Kashmir is theirs. Kashmir is not just territory. Kashmir is also people of Kashmir. And you know how they're all over. You go to any corner of India, there's always a Kashmiri present. Either a carpet seller, a papier-mâché seller, or a hotel, or business. It's all in their hands. So they're so much a part of us, as you rightly said, integral part of India. But they must be emotionally and psychologically made to feel an integral part.
Thank you so much, Air Vice Marshal Kapil Kak, for joining Asianet News and giving your perspective.
Thank you, Hina. Such a pleasure interacting with you, and what a range of thoughtful, penetrating questions you raised and made me nervous.
Well, your experience spoke, sir. Thank you once again, and hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you, Hina.